Today on Classroom Dynamics.
Students are, I find, and I used Math Fact Classroom for 3 years, I found that they were intrinsically motivated because instead there's lots of steps and they could see, oh, I've learned something. I was at step C. Now I'm at step G. And there's pride and there's ownership in that as opposed to just earning points that end up being worthless to you. Kids like to see that they grow.
Welcome to the place where ideas collide. Adam Todd's here to be your guide. For teachers and techies, chasing the spark. Classroom dynamics, where we leave our mark. Let's dive in deep, the future's bright. Innovation shines like morning light. Teachers and tech, hand in hand we go. Welcome to the Classroom Dynamics Show.
Classroom Dynamics is sponsored in part by Logitech Education, empowering student voice and creativity with innovative tools like the Logitech Reach Adjustable Content Camera and the Zone Learn headset designed specifically for student comfort and focus. Discover how Logitech is transforming classrooms at logitech.com/education. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, the podcast where we unlock the future of education. Hi everybody, I'm your host Adam Todd. Today's conversation is for every educator who has ever questioned the way we teach math facts. My guest today is Mike Kenny, who has been everywhere from Japan to England to Vermont, spending 15 years as a 5th grade math teacher before completely rethinking fact fluency instruction. While earning his master's through the Vermont Mathematics Initiative, Mike discovered that the research on math fact development looked very different from the time tests and memorization many of us grew up with. That realization sparked the creation of Math Fact Lab, a strategy-based, pattern-driven approach designed to make math facts make more sense. Now running the platform full-time, Mike is on a mission to transform how students build math fluency. And it's all coming up next on Classroom Dynamics, your weekly professional reset. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Classroom Dynamics is brought to you in part by Higher Ground Gear and the Vaulted Cell Phone Pouch, the smarter, faster way to create phone-free classrooms. Built with military-grade construction, RF shielding, and a high-decibel Velcro closure that stops distractions before they start, Vaulted keeps learning focused and secure. No locks, no end-of-the-day bottlenecks, just durable, easy-to-clean protection that gives students what they need most: attention, connection, and calm. Upgrade your school's approach to distraction-free learning with Vaulted at Higher Ground Gear. For more information, visit hggear.com today or contact us at info@hggear.com.
Every student deserves a chance to succeed. At Catapult Learning, we close learning gaps through targeted tutoring, direct student support, and proven intervention programs. Our proprietary curriculum and our ability to customize with your district's materials ensure every child gets the instruction they need when they need it. For 45 years, Catapult's evidence-based model has transformed schools in New York City and across the nation. Catapult Learning, inspiring students, unlocking potential. For more information, visit us at catapultlearning.com.
My guest today says that traditional math fact instruction isn't aligned with research as well as it should be, and that Math Fact Lab helps students focus on fact fluency and not memorization. Most notably, that pattern recognition makes math a whole lot easier to learn. To discuss the science behind it and more, I'd like to welcome the creator of Math Fact Lab, Mike Kenny, to Classroom Dynamics. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Great to be here.
This is going to be fun and really interesting because I think a lot of teachers struggle with math and teaching math. So this, I think you'll be able to provide some good insight into it. Let's even start with that, right? Like your journey with Math Fact Lab started with a realization during a Vermont Mathematics Initiative that traditional math fact instruction wasn't aligned with the research. What was the moment that convinced you that a new approach was needed, and how did that shape the development of Math Fact Lab?
So you had mentioned the Vermont Mathematics Initiative in that question. And so I think it was about my 3rd year of teaching 5th grade here in Vermont, I enrolled in the Vermont Mathematics Initiative, which is a master's program for working teachers in Vermont who really wanted to dive into mathematics instruction. And the beauty of the program was that they were teaching us, sort of high-level math content, but they were teaching it so well that it was inspiring us to teach, taking their strategies and apply them in our classrooms. So everything we learned was conceptual, that it was going from the understanding we already had and leading us to take the leap to new understanding. And so that really inspired me to do the same in my classroom because I was really teaching procedurally. I was teaching like I had been taught in fifth grade. It's like nothing had been learned in the 30-year gap between my fifth grade and then my instruction. And so along that kind of inspirational route, I happened to stumble across the literature on how fact fluency should really be developed in a classroom. And again, I saw this is how it should be done, and this is what you're doing in the classroom. And again, there is, no match. I was using flashcards, time test, memorization. And what the literature was saying is students should really build new fact knowledge from previously mastered facts. They should be taking a conceptual approach and where they are practicing applying new strategies and while seeing them represented with multiple models, whether it was 10 frames or number racks or area models or number lines. And so when I saw that, it was really inspiring, and there was plenty of evidence to prove that, yes, this route works. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start doing that, but I couldn't actually find anything commercially available to do it with. So my action research project was coming up, and one day it occurred to me, well, why don't I take this on myself just for multiplication facts?
Hey,
What if
nothing wrong with double dipping, right? You get you get the information, the research, and it's going to help you out in your classroom anyway.
Exactly. So I thought, why don't I see if I can apply this conceptual approach to help my students learn their multiplication facts. And so what I did was I created a large set of flashcards, which had, instead of just, traditional 4 times 6 on the front, 24 in the back, and below the 4 times 6, it would have also the text version, 4 groups of 6. There was then a visual that would help them construct that new knowledge by building from previously mastered facts. So, for example, 4 times 6, they would see 2 groups of 6 plus 2 groups of 6. They would see, 2 dice and with, where you'd see 6 dots on each of them. So that suddenly 4 times 6 isn't something that has to be memorized. You're just applying a strategy. Oh, to solve my 4s, I just double my 2s. And so this approach showed some real promise. It definitely built understanding, but there were some logistical issues with trying to get a classroom of kids, really actually practicing with flashcards, in a manner that's actually going to help them. It was
especially right, since that's all they were kind of doing anyway at the time. So they don't really know any better yet at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, true. They were already, they had been memorizing before with the flashcards. Now applying those strategies. Yeah, it was definitely a shift.
How do you tell the kids all of a sudden, like, okay, we're going to change this up now?
Yeah, it's slow, and I got to say, I'm not sure you can necessarily do it mid-year, but I became very much a conceptually based teacher going forward, so that moving forward a few years, my students got Chromebooks, and I was able to take all those images and put them onto leveled Google slideshows. I really started to see the promise of this approach. Yes, what the literature was not lying, that this really worked. My students could not only tell me what 6 times 8 is, they could tell me multiple reasons why. They could connect it to the mathematics in our classroom. It was no longer fact memorization and isolation. It was just another part of the mathematics curriculum.
So Math Fact Lab then emphasizes strategy and pattern recognition over rote memorization. So explain to everyone who's listening why developing number sense through multiple representations is so important for fact fluency. And really, what does that look like in a classroom today, especially with technology involved? How do you bring that all together?
I like to use an analogy there. Just like sometimes we can go from point A to point B in our car and we only know one route there, and or maybe we don't even know that, and maybe our phone's just telling us how to get there. And if somehow there's a detour or somehow our phone dies, we're lost. If you really have deep understanding of the geography of where you live, you could be dropped anywhere in your town and find your way to your favorite pizza place, as opposed to knowing there's only one route there. And so that's what we want for our students. We want a deep sort of interconnected web of understanding. And so the way you build that is with multiple models, that you can see how this problem is represented multiple ways. And that practice of modeling is really going to help students throughout their mathematical career. If we can really build that foundation and sort of that habit of representing with models early on, it's going to really help those students throughout their educational career. I had one instructor at Vermont Mathematics Initiative who used to say, "It is uncivilized not to draw a picture." Yeah, and that he really sank it in, that start by turning that problem into a picture. And suddenly a different part of your brain is kind of tackling it than just the part that reads. Now it's the part that interprets images is there too, as your ally to solve that problem.
That has to be something that's eye-opening when you haven't seen it for so long, all of a sudden start to see that happen.
And the good thing is there's a lot of good curricular materials out there that are now taking that approach. The disconnect is that math fact practice, other than Math Fact Lab, and there are some printed materials that are really good. Most of the websites out there are still, kind of using educational approach of 30, 40, 50 years ago of just learn it. No, 3 times 4 is not 15, it's 12. Learn it. So it's just that it's kind of a missing piece. And when I meet with teachers, or administrators, they'll say, "Yeah, we've got a really good program, but it just doesn't, it provides a lot of deep conceptual understanding, but it's not allowing students enough application of those models or those strategies to get to procedural fluency. And we don't want to get them there through, drill and kill or memorization. We want them to get there by applying it enough times that it then becomes second nature."
You still have to build the foundation, right, for the math fact portion of learning what mathematics entails, from, kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to college level courses. There has to still have that foundation. So learning your facts is, how other way can you do it? You have to learn your facts.
Yeah. And if you don't, what I used to tell my 5th graders is you can get through 5th grade math without knowing your facts, but it's like riding a bicycle with, really flat tires or a rusty chain. It's a pain. It's just no fun. You want those tires pumped up. You want that chain well oiled.
And it's going to come back to bite you later on when you really have to come up with facts, really quickly, and it's not happening because now you're in pre-cal in maybe higher level high school or early college level courses. That's going to hurt you later on if you're not learning those facts to begin with.
And that's why middle schools reach out to Math Fact Lab, and because they'll get middle schoolers who are, they're being bogged down from a lack of fact fluency. And I think part of the problem was a lot of teachers have known for a long time that memorization time test approach doesn't work, but they didn't have an alternative. So they ended up kind of, to some extent, not focusing on it because they didn't want to do damage. And there's plenty of research that, that with those time tests, you can actually cause math anxiety. You don't want to do damage, but they didn't have the tools. And so getting Math Fact Lab in their hands is really going to help. It's going to help those students.
Math anxiety is a thing. I think I had it when I was a kid for sure.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's definitely a thing. And once you get that fear, it's hard to move on. We're just getting started with Mike Kenny from Math Fact Lab. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Math Fact Lab. And of course, if you're enjoying this episode, hit subscribe and follow us so that you don't miss next week's episode. More with Mike right after this. Attention educators, meet the Logitech Zone Learn, the classroom headset designed for learners and built for schools. Engineered for comfort and durability, the Zone Learn delivers crystal clear audio, helping students focus and fully engage during lessons, group projects, and online learning. Built to last, its modular design adapts to any classroom setting and ensures a reliable, distraction-free learning experience. With Zone Learn, your students can hear the difference, which helps boost learning. For more information, visit logitech.com/Zone Learn. Bullying affects every school, but together we can change the story. Box Out Bullying brings powerful bullying prevention education to life through engaging interactive theater that gets students thinking, participating, and learning in meaningful ways. Through dynamic school assemblies, classroom workshops, and training for educators and families, Box Out Bullying equips entire school communities with the tools to build empathy, confidence, and respect. Whether in person or online, these high-energy programs inspire students to be upstanders, not bystanders, and help create safer, more inclusive learning environments. Make your school a place where every student feels seen, supported, and valued. Box Out Bullying. Empower, include, respect. For more, visit boxoutbullying.com today. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics, where today my guest is Mike Kenny, the creator of Math Fact Lab, and we're talking all things math facts today. Many teachers still rely, and we've talked about it kind of already, still rely on those time tests and those flashcards. What would you say to educators who are really hesitant to shift away from those methods, and what evidence or outcomes have you seen that support a strategy-based model?
I'm building a new page on our website that has a quote from Figuring Out Fluency in Mathematics, and this is written by Jennifer White Bay Williams, who is, one of the biggest names in math education. And so instead of the message coming from me, I prefer to have it come from, the experts. But it essentially, it says there is a huge body of evidence that shows that when students practice to learn their facts using strategies and models, that they become stronger mathematicians, that they actually learn their facts better, and that it plays out as beneficial to them, throughout their mathematics career.
So let's get into Math Fact Lab then, right? So
Sure.
Math Fact Lab uses really a progression of levels and models, from number lines to area models, just to assist the kids understand and help build that fluency. So how did you design that progression so students both not only understand, but they also actually enjoy the learning process at the same time? Because let's face it too, right? With technology, a kid's attention span today is not what it was 10 or 15 years ago. And you have to incorporate the technology sometimes, and more times than not these days, in order to get the kids engaged. So how do you put all that stuff together?
So I'll start by just sort of talking about the learning sequence is not something I invented. It is what has been sort of proven to be the most efficient way, that students should tackle the easiest strategies first. And by tackling the easiest strategies first, they can get most of the fact families covered there. So, if you're doing your 2s, your 10s, and your 5s, it's pretty easy to double. It's easy to multiply by 10, and multiplying by 5 is not much of a challenge. And then you can use your 2s to solve your 4s. You can use your 2s and 1s to solve your 3s. And then when you get to the end and all you have left are your 9s and your 8s and 7s, you don't have to do all your 9s or all your 8s or all your 7s, because most of them have already been learned earlier. Your 9 times 5, 9 times 2, 9 times 10. So there's only just a few facts left. So it basically goes, let's tackle the bulk of the facts with the easiest strategies, and then we don't have too many facts left where we have to apply more challenging strategies. Like the 7s, you have to do 5 groups plus 2 groups, or 6 groups plus 1 group. That's not as easy as just doubling 2 groups. So there's that. And so again, not my work, just it's the work of the experts out there. And then I was pretty concerned when I first started using Math Fact Lab that students wouldn't buy into it, but that hasn't generally proven to be the case. Instead of extrinsically motivating the kids to work by, games, points, reward games, or, to earn this many points and you get to decorate the room inside your spaceship or something like that. Students I find, and I used Math Fact Classroom for 3 years, I found that they were intrinsically motivated, because instead there's lots of steps and they could see, oh, I've learned something. I was at step C. Now I'm at step G. And there's pride and there's ownership in that, as opposed to just earning points that end up being worthless. Kids like to see that they grow. They like to know that they're getting faster, stronger, quicker, smarter. And the program basically tells them, yes, you are growing. Look at the progress you've made. And each time a kid logs in, they see where they are, and they see all the levels that they've already mastered, and they see what's coming next. And that works, it actually works.
There's a little bit of, it's always good to have self-assessment in there. And if the technology is helping those kids see that self-assessment, to be more aware of their own self-assessment, that only helps them push forward and grow even faster.
Yeah. And some teachers print out the progress tables so that the kids can color in those fact families as they master them, so that just a little bit more of that ownership of actually, using their hands to color it in and say, yeah, I know that one now. I didn't before, but now I do.
So what age group do you think could use the Math Fact Lab website to start? Is it kindergarten? Is it that early, or is it more in that?
I recommend first grade and up, and I don't recommend day one of first grade. They need to have some additive reasoning. They need to know what addition and subtraction are. They need to be familiar with at least 10 frames. They need a little hand holding at the beginning. So typically, a third of the way through first grade or maybe halfway through first grade is a good time to start. I mean, the program does have the tools for kindergartners, but I would prefer to think that they are using manipulatives and pencil and paper more than electronics. Um,
Right, and the research actually backs that up to actually
oh,
use the paper and pencil. 100% the research backs that up. So that's
mm,
actually that's good. Because as much as we love technology, and obviously I love technology and the integration of technology, there are some quote unquote, like you mentioned before, old school ways that kind of there's no other way to do it. It's the best way that we can do it, and before handing off, so to speak, to technology and even artificial intelligence later on down the road. So, I'm glad you actually mentioned that.
and just continuing in that thread, the idea with Math Fact Lab is it's really what it's called. It's stage 2 and stage 3 of fact fluency development. That stage 1 is what's going on in the classroom. It's the hands-on work. It's the direct instruction. It's the group practice. It's the application at their desk with manipulatives in front of them. So after they're getting that initial understanding, when they can begin to solve problems, then Math Fact Lab serves as that bridge to eventually get to stage 3 where they have automaticity. But the thing is, they need to be in stage 2, which is, application of strategies for as long as it takes. And so that for one student, that might be a week on the strategies. For another student, it might be 30 minutes. So
Mm.
the great thing about a program is it lets each student march at their own pace, which, you can't as a classroom teacher necessarily give everyone, their own differentiated instruction as easily without technology.
Does the system prevent going forward if something hasn't been mastered yet?
Yeah, so at each level in the program, students they practice with multiple strategies and with multiple models. They're also constantly reviewing the facts they've already mastered. And then they take what's called the level lifter, which is an assessment. And in the level lifter is the only time they just see naked numbers. So going back to 4 times 6, if 4 times 6 is on the screen, that's all there is. There's no model to support them. It's, can we take the training wheels off? Have you internalized your understanding? Is 4 times 6 are those models now in your head, and so that you don't need that support? And if the student demonstrates that, yeah, I know my fours now, I can or I either I know them automatically or I can solve them so quickly it's almost automatic, then they level up. If they demonstrate that they're not ready yet, they go back and they practice a little more, and they'll be ready pretty soon.
I like it. When you can use the technology to assist you and almost make yourself as a teacher yourself in multiple places at the same time, that's awesome. You might as well use the technology, right? So we're going to take a final quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Mike Kenny. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Looking for teaching resources that truly engage and inspire your students? Discover Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers, your go-to source for ready-to-use lesson plans, interactive notebooks and lapbooks, test prep passages, and meaningful small group projects. Designed by educators for educators, these resources save you time while boosting student motivation and learning. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers today. Welcome back to Classroom Dynamics. Looking toward the future, are there any updates or innovations that you're working on or are most maybe excited about coming out down the line for Math Fact Lab?
Yeah, there are a few new features we're working on. One is that middle school teachers have reached out and said they don't have a computer-based approach to teaching integer operations that is conceptual. I think a lot of middle school integer work is still very memorization based. A negative times a negative is a positive. Just remember that. And so we are now building an integer operations program so that it takes Math Fact Lab's conceptual approach where students are practicing with models and applying it to sort of middle school mathematics. We're also building a progress monitoring tool so that, schools can get really good data. And this is important for RTI. This is where a student is at this point. I'm going to measure them again in 6 weeks' time and see the progress they've made. And if they haven't made the expected progress, then we'll intervene. And so,
and then you could even share that out with the parents too, in terms of progress reports and things like that.
Exactly. And so that data will really be available. People have tried to use Math Fact Lab as that tool before, but it doesn't work terribly well for that. So by next school year, we'll have that in place.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, Mike, thank you for changing and even challenging the way we think and understand math facts, the perspective, pattern recognition. It all truly can transform students' understanding, especially with a subject like math, which can be very challenging for a lot of students. It was for me growing up. That's something that's important if we can help kids today understand their math facts. Before we go, just tell everyone where they can go to find out more about you and, of course, where teachers can find out more about Math Fact Lab.
Sure. So our website is mathfactlab.com, and teachers or school administrators can sign up for either a pilot for their classroom or a pilot for their school or a pilot for their school district. So you can try it out and see if Math Fact Lab's a good fit for them.
All right. Well, for those of you who have been listening, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure that you share what you've learned or any takeaways or reflections that you've had, and tag us on X at Class Dynamics or Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. You can also find all of our links, including information about our sponsors, on Linktree at Classroom Dynamics. You know, we always look forward to hearing your thoughts on our episodes and sharing the different ways in which you're using what you've learned. And more importantly, share this episode with a colleague who you feel can benefit from today's show. You can also help support Classroom Dynamics with as little as $3 a month at classroomdynamicspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Once again, I'd like to thank Mike Kenny of Math Fact Lab for joining us today on Classroom Dynamics. Thanks for being with us. The amazing conversation, a lot of tips and tricks about learning our facts, and for the time, of course, for today. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Adam.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Classroom Dynamics. I hope today's conversation sparked something meaningful for you, maybe a new idea, a fresh perspective, or just a little boost of motivation to take back to your classroom. Remember, it's never too late to strengthen your craft, and if there's ever a moment to re-energize your work, why not make it today? I'm Adam Todd, and you've been listening to Classroom Dynamics, a teacher podcast. Follow us on X at Class Dynamics and on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. If you haven't already, go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts or Spotify and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'll be back soon with more captivating conversations, inspiring stories, and strategies that you can implement into your everyday routines. Until then, keep that spark alive and never underestimate the incredible impact you have as an educator. You're more powerful and inspirational than you think. What happens when AI in education is done the right way? From South by Southwest EDU to classrooms in Hawaii, educator Gabriel Yanagihara shares how students and teachers are using AI with creativity, purpose, and responsibility. If you missed this episode, we promise it will change the way you think about the future of teaching.
So I have to figure this out. If I've been treading water, if I've been kind of holding off on the sideline just to see what my district tells me to do or anything like that, I'm starting to realize that I have to be the change if I want to see it happen. And for every day that I hold off on that, that's another day that my students aren't going to be as equipped as they should be for the future that's coming.